Today on Com Talk, we're talking about what may be the heaviest movie we've watched in a while.
It's so heavy. Glix, what is going on?
We are receiving a signal from a new area on the planet Geekery.
All right, let's see what the planet has for us today.
Opening comms in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Devoted Geeks, and welcome to Com Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, a show from Devoted Geeks who are devoted to let you know you're loved. This is Dallas here, and I'm joined with my beautiful redheaded bride, Mrs. Celeste Mora.
Hello.
How are you, babe?
I think it's funny that you have to specify redhead because even though I haven't changed the color in a while, you never know.
You never know. It's funny, when we first got married, like, you were blonde when we got married.
No, I was redhead when we got married.
No, you were blonde.
No.
Yes.
No, I had red hair. I can pull up our wedding pictures.
You may have to, because you went blonde at some point in the midst of everything. Either way, people were confused as to who I married. They thought I was playing around because I was walking around with a brunette one day, a blonde another day, a redhead another day.
Within the span of a year and a half, I went from red to black, back to red, and then to blonde. And then back to red.
Lots of changes happening over here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You never know. Gotta keep you on your toes.
I noticed. So anyways, we just got back from a movie. And this is the first official element to this podcast of our month-long series here at Geek Devotion of Sci-Frights.
Ooh. Although, disclaimer, this movie ended up being more sci than fright.
It was indeed. And we're talking about the movie The Creator. And like I said, this is probably the heaviest movie we've had in a while.
Yeah.
And so today's podcast, we're going to do two sections. Section A, we're talking about the movie and just spoiler free.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk about spoils. Spoiler filled. Lots of feelings of spoils in this film.
There will be lots of feelings.
There'll be lots of feelings in this film. So let's jump into it. If you're not familiar with the movie The Creator, this just came out 2023.
Came out Thursday.
Yeah, it came out this week, didn't it? So the IMDb description says this: against the backdrop of a Cold War between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. Dun, dun, dun. And this was directed and written by Gareth Edwards, who did the Godzilla movie, the legendary Godzilla.
Oh. That tracks.
And Rogue One.
Oh, yeah. No, I kind of wish I'd known that.
Yep. It's all right there. It all makes sense for us. And listeners, you'll understand why she says that in the second half of the film. Or this conversation.
Half of the podcast.
So it stars John David Washington as the main character.
I don't think I've seen him before.
You have.
I have?
You don't remember you have, but you have. He was in Tenet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, was he Tenet?
He was the protagonist, which name is Protagonist.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then he was also in the movie Black Klansman.
I didn't see that one.
Which was it was a pretty interesting film.
I didn't realize you'd seen that one.
I had not seen it. I just saw a lot of reviews. It's not in the wheelhouse that I can handle.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It also stars a young lady named Madeline Yulna Voiles.
Apparently, this was her first role.
It was. And not bad for a young lady.
I think she did fantastic.
I'm trying to see if I can figure out how old she is. Thank you, IMDb, for protecting young ladies' personal information, because we have no idea how old she is. But she is a younger individual. And then Gemma Chan, who I've seen her in several things over the years. I feel like I have. She was in Eternals.
Oh.
Yeah. She was in Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, who'd she play in Crazy Rich Asians?
Astrid Young Teal.
Oh, she played Astrid.
Yeah. And she was in Thunderbirds Are Go.
What?
It's not something you would have watched. But another name that we would all know is Ken Watanabe, who was also in Godzilla and several other things, and he does a great job. So that's kind of the quick rundown of it. But let's talk spoiler-free thoughts, Celeste. What were your thoughts on the film? Spoil-free?
I thought this was going to be a creepy movie. Like, I knew it was a science fiction movie, but again, you can be creepy, and AI in general,
it creeps a lot of people out.
It can be really creepy. And so I was like, okay, cool. This will make a great movie for Sci-Frights. I was not expecting feels.
Yeah. So many feels in this movie.
Feels.
They did a really great job of humanizing the AI, which is the exact fear that people have about AI and how far it goes, is how human-like it becomes.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, I genuinely felt for this artificial community.
Yeah. Because, well, no, that's getting into spoilers.
Yeah. So cinematography-wise,
it was beautiful.
It was a beautiful film. They did such a fantastic job with it. But again, going into it, this is the guy who did Godzilla. He did Rogue One. He did some fantastic stuff with that. And
both movies, which are beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, both of those movies in different ways are absolutely stunning.
Yeah. I did some reading up, and apparently he avoided green screening like the plague.
That explains a lot, actually.
As much as they could, it was on location, guerrilla style filming. Like, he tried to make this as traditional as possible, and I think it shows.
Yeah. You can definitely tell that they didn't do body doubles. It, like, when people were dropping and hitting the ground, it looked like dummies.
Yeah.
Like, and you say that, but it's because I know what it looks like when a dummy falls and hits the ground. Like, so actually, you know what? Now that I'm saying that, I'm wondering if that was the scene I'm thinking of was John Wick. Because we watched that before.
You were thinking about John Wick. You were thinking of John Wick just now.
Just disregard everything I just said.
So, but as a whole, like, cinematography-wise, it was beautiful. The fact that it was filmed on location.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of places, and there were stunning scenes. The scenes were in, they looked like kind of a Philippines, Tibetan area. There were scenes that were in a city that were almost had a Blade Runner-esque feel to it, but less dirty.
Yes.
And it was really good.
It's like the new Blade Runner when everything was real shiny.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
There were scenes in it, though. Again, this just adds to the conversation of how the being shot on location, how real some of that stuff felt. Again, I'm about to make a statement. It sounds like I'm some vast world traveler. I'm not. I've only been out of the country once. When I went to the Philippines, though, there were moments in this film that felt like some of the stuff I saw when I was in the Philippines. When traveling the countryside, seeing things, it felt real.
Yeah.
And because again, it was felt like everything in this film, while it was far in the future, felt very grounded.
Yes.
Throughout the entirety of the thing.
It did. And it also, you run the risk with a lot of sci-fi films of it not feeling plausible. And sometimes I think the best science fiction is the stuff that is plausible.
Yeah.
They take a concept and go, this could happen. And then they play with it. Like, it legitimately, I could see something like this happening.
Oh, totally. 100%. And that's again, that adds to the scary part.
Yeah, it does.
So,
but not scary and like
Yeah.
There was one jump scare.
There was.
And I almost punched you. I stopped myself though. Aren't you
so
proud
thankful.
of me?
I'm so thankful for it.
We should have punched the people talking next to us.
So I thought the acting was good. I thought John David Washington did a great job with his part. He was a believable character. He plays a character who went through some trauma, and I really genuinely felt like he did.
Yeah.
Throughout the majority of it. The one character was kind of throwing me off was Colonel Howell, which was played by Allison Janney. And part of that is because I've never seen her do a serious role.
What?
She's been in movies. She was in The Help. She was in Juno. She was in Hairspray, The Hours. But what I know her from is from a stupid TV show called Mom, where she plays an alcoholic, and it's a comedy. And I was thrown off seeing her in a serious role. But even still, her character at times, it felt shoehorned. Like, I was like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Like, things didn't make sense with some of her character stuff. But everyone else was really great. Ken Watanabe, I like him as an actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
His character was sparse, which I appreciate it. We'll get into some stuff that didn't make sense to me later. But I thought he did a great job with his character also, as little as he was in it.
Yeah. I appreciated his character a lot. His character was the kind that had he been in any more, it would not have made sense.
Yeah, totally.
Like, he was definitely a side character, but he did it so well that when he was on the screen, you were glad he was on the screen.
Yeah.
You wanted to watch him.
Absolutely. I thought the young lady, Madeline, did a good job too. Again,
She did.
It's child actors are always, it's rough to work with and judge how they do. But I think that the way that they had her play her role, I think she did a great job all the way through, especially in the ending scenes of it. Except for like the final scene, I was kind of thrown off by, and we'll talk about that.
I was too.
But throughout the entirety of it, I really enjoyed her character.
Yeah, I did too.
So, any other spoiled free thoughts?
I thought that the main female character, whose name I can't remember.
Gemma Chan?
Yeah, Gemma Chan's character.
Maya.
I thought she did a really good job.
Again, as little as she was in it, she really wasn't very often.
But when she was in it, she did a great job. Her character was believable. It was one of those things of you really did want to see her, which I appreciated because the type of character she was, she could have been a throwaway character.
Yeah.
Where she didn't have much importance other than being a plot point progressor.
Yeah.
Which she kind of was, but it was done well.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I could see that, definitely. All right. It's getting hard to talk about anything else without getting into... Well, we'll talk about this. It leaves open a lot of interesting conversations.
It does.
A lot of spiritual conversations, and we'll probably get into the second half. But we walked out of this film talking about it for a good hour.
Yeah.
Like, we left the film, went grocery shopping, and we just talked about it. It's been a while since we had a film this heavy. That we were like, we're talking about it for an hour later and then doing a podcast about it.
Yeah. We generally lean more towards the lighter movies, the fluffier movies. Like, we like a good story, but we don't go for the heavier topics.
Yeah.
And this one turned out to be a very heavy topic.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some stuff in it spiritually. We'll get into that again in the second half that it doesn't line up with our views at all, obviously.
Right.
But overall, it brings up some interesting talking points and the problem of certain issues.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be opening the can, spoiling all the stuff, and give our final thoughts on the film. You ready, Celeste?
Sure. Let me go find the can opener.
Welcome, adventurers! Are you looking for an actual play podcast without profanity? Or maybe one that even Grandma can love? Well, you're in luck. Introducing Playing Games with Strangers. A bunch of voice actors get together to play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and weave a tale of comedy, tragedy, and dad jokes. And on the plus side, the whole family can listen. Subscribe to the show at playinggameswithstrangers.com. New episodes release every Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And we are back. Definitely go check out all of the people at the Culture Box.
Yes, they're our friends.
They are our friends.
Including the newest members of Culture Box, which I feel like we mentioned this a couple weeks ago, which is the Rushmore Show.
Yeah, we've been on that show a couple times.
We have great guys, love them. They do a show, and I'm talking about them now because we don't have a promo video made audio for them yet, but they do a show where they give their top 4 of any topic. I mean, they've done all kinds of topics.
They do some really random topics.
Yeah, and really great guys, friends of ours. I've had the great opportunity of meeting both of them in person.
I have not.
You have not. And I think you've met Kirk.
I've met Kirk.
I don't think you met
I've not
Andy.
met Andy.
But fantastic dudes. Make sure you guys check them out. There'll be links in the description down below for you guys to listen to them. All right, well, let's jump into it. Open the can, and let's spoil this thing. Where do we start?
I don't know.
Emotional damage.
Yeah.
So the film itself, it starts off with Joshua, played by John David, who he seems to be. Oh, rewind a little bit further. It opens up with like one of those old, and I feel like some of it was legitimately old clips of this, and some they added to it, but like those old like. The future. This is what the future looks like.
This is what's happening.
And like, because I've seen clips like this. Disney did one several years ago, and by several years ago, I think like back in the 50s or 60s, and I watched it as a child when they reran it.
The world of tomorrow.
exactly. And then like it goes into the whole AI thing, and all of a sudden, again, this is where storytelling is really fascinating. There's this random like explosion and then everything goes silent. And then you see a title screen come up and you're like, what's going on? As it talks about, like, you see a video clip of like a United Nations type of thing, but it's like all United States declaring war on AI because only the United States has banned AI.
Yeah.
New Asia is what they called it?
Yeah, they called it New Asia, which is why earlier we weren't sure where it was.
Yeah.
A lot of it looked like pictures I've seen of China.
Yeah.
Just because of so much of the wooded area. But I mean, it legitimately could have been anywhere.
Yeah. But it was in New Asia, they've embraced AI.
Yes.
And to the point of they're like, hey, scan yourself, or donate your image to help develop bodies for AI and everything.
Well, they called them different things. So you had the
simulants,
but then you also had, I don't remember what they called them. There was the ones that didn't look like people.
Yeah.
They had a different name for them. And so it was just interesting.
Yeah. So, but it opens up and you discover what's happened in the world is that there was a nuclear attack on Los Angeles. And that's where the war started. And
which honestly tracks because America would not stand for that.
No, nor should they stand for an attack. And so the war starts, and then it jumps over to this peaceful looking island, but there's this machine flying through space, which honestly, the way the light rays were running everything, you know what it reminded me of was the you remember in their first Tron, in the big like horseshoe shaped ship that floated around.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of from Tron. And but it's scanning the area, and you got these black op guys coming up out of the water to attack what's basically a village of AI.
Yeah.
And you meet Joshua, who turns out that he's been working for the American government the whole time. He was undercover looking for Neomata, which is the quote unquote the creator of the AI, the AI all worship. And he's like, Neomata's not here. Neomata's not here. You also discover he has a wife who is pregnant.
Yeah.
And as she runs off, because she discovers who he is in the midst of this attack, she's killed because that thing flying in the sky is basically a giant nuke launching machine.
Yeah.
That the Americans took 10 years to build.
Yep.
And that's where your first round of feels kick in.
Yeah, because you're like, holy crap. And did we mention that she was pregnant?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah. So he lost a child, his wife, and he didn't even know the attack was happening.
He had not a clue that it was going on.
Yeah. This is like the first 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
And already we're hit with this array of emotionalism.
Mm-hmm.
You have our country being attacked.
Yeah.
Millions swept away. And then you see a man who's living in a village with AI people peacefully, not realizing he's an American agent, marries a woman, pregnant, but in the midst of the war, he's losing all that. And he's dealing with an excessive amount of post-traumatic syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And that should be the first key flag for us going, this is going to be an emotional roller coaster of a film.
I still didn't know at that point. Like, I was like, okay, because I knew that there was going to be a child.
Right.
So I was trying to connect dots.
Right.
I was trying to figure things out because that's how I approach movies in general, is even if I don't realize I'm doing it, I'm trying to figure things out.
Sure.
So like it didn't hit me that this was going to be emotional.
But it was. And again, on the surface, it's like, this is a good setup for him having a conflict because later the government recruits him to track down, there's a new weapon that the AI has created, and they need to track down A, where Niamata is, B, where this weapon is, and destroy the weapon. Well, the weapon is a child.
Yeah.
And so it's a great setup for that.
Yeah, it is.
But they play with so many other aspects of him. The way that they played out the story, he went originally because he found out his wife wasn't dead.
Yeah.
And so he was on his way to go. He wanted to find her, even though he had betrayed her. But the journey you go on throughout the movie, I genuinely believe the emotional change he suffers and goes through as he journeys throughout the entire film to the end of the film.
I honestly think that the footage that they showed him was a lie.
Oh yeah, totally doctored.
Because the way that he initially responded was, I lost my child, I lost my wife that night. Because they were talking about it being extinction for the human race. And he goes, I don't care if we go extinct. And
he was really in a tight spot. He hated AI because it killed his mother, his father, and his brothers.
Yeah.
But then he hates mankind because they attacked before when they weren't supposed to. Because in his mind, the attack wasn't supposed to happen yet. He didn't give him the details.
He didn't give them the go-ahead, so they should not have gone.
So mankind killed his wife and child. He's lost everybody. This is a man who's alone, who's isolated.
Yep.
And now he finds out there's a sliver of hope of finding his wife. But then he discovers the key is this machine child. Now he's already on record like it's just programming. It's just a machine. Like he's trying not to have feelings for it.
Yeah.
But then he goes on this emotional journey where he develops feelings. And again, like I was saying, like the acting wise and the storytelling, I believe the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. Now you said you felt like the lady general was shoehorned in. What did you mean by that?
There was a rush conversation to give her an emotional appeal of, I hate the machines because they took out my children. But she just shows up so randomly, in my opinion. Like that, the scene towards the upper middle portion of it, where all of a sudden they have giant tanks.
Yeah, that was weird.
That came out of nowhere. Like, how did you guys not see these being delivered on the island that you guys are at?
Yeah, that was weird.
Like that whole attack, that whole thing, and then her just like doing her thing, it felt super shoehorned. And I I didn't like the way they played that whole thing out.
Yeah. I was okay with it until that scene with
Mhm.
the giant tanks. Because when they said we're going to have to call reinforcements, I thought they meant the big thing in the sky that shoots bombs.
Yeah.
Not huge city-sized tanks.
Well, and then there's no like maybe I missed it, but I don't know how she tracked him down to the island. How did she get there? How did she figure that out?
I think she was following the concept was supposed to be that she was following sightings of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because people would see them, people would report.
And I get that, but before they got to the island, he went back to the place where the bomb fell.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was around. We saw nothing that said that there was anybody tracking them, that anybody saw them. He was knocked out, and they were on a boat, and they're traveling, and all of a sudden, they know where our base is. They're attacking the base. And so they attacked one base.
Yeah.
And so they divert to another base. Again, nothing tells us
how they knew
that stuff.
Yeah.
Again, unless we missed it, which is possible.
It is possible because there was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this is one of those movies that needs a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
need to rewatch it. If nothing else, just so that there's no one else talking.
That really bothered you.
It really did.
So
we had some people who were talking throughout the movie, not like whispering to each other, but just holding a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, please shut up.
Right. So what else about the film did you like?
It definitely deep dives into some interesting conversations about what makes a person.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I don't know, it makes me more wary of AI technology in general. I'm always wary of AI technology in general, personally, simply because I've read a lot of science fiction that has AI stuff in it.
Yeah, and it always goes south.
Yeah, it always goes south. One way or the other. Whether it's the AI doing it or it's something that like people have gone crazy to.
Yeah.
So it's not always the robots, but it's just that it makes me go, I really hope we never get to that point.
Yeah.
Because that we're going to have problems.
Yeah, same. There was a lot of conversation about heaven.
Yeah.
And just listening to it, and again, I'm not an expert on world religions necessarily. I've studied some stuff. It felt very Buddhist type of thought process with some of the stuff. But what is heaven and everything, kind of like it suggests that everything kind of has a soul. There's life within everything. That's kind of the suggestion of it. Which again, that's the whole question of AI. At what point does it become a living thing?
Yeah.
So I can't get behind that, but
Right.
it does leave open a lot of questions. I can see people going home, having seen the film, and going, "Well, what is heaven? How do we get to heaven?" Because that's a lot of things. Like, how do we get to heaven?
Yeah.
The Joshua says you have to be a good person. Obviously, we know that's not the case.
Right.
Doesn't matter how good of a person you are, you can't get to heaven. It's only through Christ. But I think it opens some interesting conversations for you to have with people about
Oh, absolutely.
what is heaven, how to get to heaven, why behind everything.
So it definitely I'm trying my best not to spoil too much because the ending is where a lot of the
emotions kick in.
It's the emotions, but also the analytical side of me because of that one character at the end going, but is it? Is it that person or is it just a replicant?
Yeah. For context, there was again, we talked about it earlier, people were loaning their image to AI. There was a replicant or simulant is what they called it.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking Ultra
was loaded with the memories or the last thought processes of another character who died. And the question becomes, is that her or not?
Yeah.
Are her memories enough to make it her? And at the end, there's comfort for a character because he sees this character.
Yeah.
And again, it's super emotional.
It is. Because on one hand, you're going, he's gotten to be with who he wanted to be with. But
Mhm.
at the other hand, you're going, but it's not her.
Right. Right. And then you have the child character. They called her Alfie throughout a lot of it, most of it. There were two portions that were really interesting. There was a scene where she was saying goodbye to Joshua,
Yeah.
and it was super emotional and crying. I could see that taking place. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that was very raw, very real. And you see Alfie sacrificing himself for her, which
You
was
mean Joshua?
Joshua, yeah, sacrificing himself for Alfie, which was just a beautiful moment.
It was.
And it was super like sacrificial. And he's like, I can't be there with you, but I
Mhm.
have to do this for your sake.
Yeah.
But where the acting kind of got weird, and I don't know what the direction was. She lands on Earth after the explosion of the big base.
Yeah.
Everything's falling apart. They've won the day. And she's been sobbing because she's just said goodbye essentially to her father and mother.
Yeah.
Forever. And she's crying, but then at the end, as it zooms in, she's laughing. As
Yeah,
people are
that
cheering.
really threw me off. At first, I thought it was you know how sometimes when you're hysterical,
Mm-hmm.
like you're just crying and you're almost screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what they were going for. And then
Yeah.
she smiled. And
Yeah,
I was like, I no longer feel comfortable with this. What is happening?
It was just a weird transition.
It
forward.
was. I'm sure that it was supposed to relay something to the effect of she was relieved because she knew that this meant that
They're free.
they were free. But it didn't come off well.
Mm-mm. So, but overall, it was really good. Made me think more. There's another movie very similar, I, Robot.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys remember that? I had more emotions with this film than I, Robot.
Yeah. I, Robot wasn't super emotional.
But this film did a really great job of capturing emotion, thought. Like, it left us thinking.
It did. It was a very analytical movie.
Mhm.
Like, there's action, there's things going on, things blowing up. It's constantly moving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they managed to hold that balance between an action movie and a movie that really makes you think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a 2-hour movie, 2-hour, 13-minute movie, but it didn't fit like it moved quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was that long.
Yeah, I didn't either until
So,
we stood
yeah.
up. And I
Now,
went, oh,
the storytelling was interesting because it's broken up to like chapters.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating because each chapter starts off almost with a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a flashback to before the movie starts.
Mm-hmm.
And then explains a whole new, like it unfolds new aspects of the story.
Yeah.
To help you feel for characters in a new way. I thought that was a really interesting storytelling.
Well, and it also was a good way to take the overall story and give you surface level in the beginning, and then take you a little bit deeper. And okay, you've grabbed that concept. Let's take you a little bit deeper.
Right.
Like, it did a great job of that, and I appreciated it. It also kind of gave a good indication of where the story was going from there. Like, each title at first didn't catch it, but by the second, third time it happened,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is going to be the topic of the next segment.
Totally. Well, any other things you want to mention about the film before we start bringing this to a close?
It was really good.
Yeah.
I would not necessarily recommend it for small children.
Oh God, no.
Because of the explosions, the blood, the cussing.
I think I don't think they'll appreciate the deeper conversation either.
Yeah. So, but I would say that if your kids are mature enough to, not repeat what they hear, and handle that level of gore, it might be a great movie to
teenager
watch.
and up for sure.
Yeah, to watch and have conversations about, because it is so very analytical, and it can spark a lot of good conversations. We were talking about 3 to 4 different things.
Yeah.
Just based off of the movie.
Yeah. It was when we were driving to Kroger and you were quiet for a moment. I was like, "You okay?" You're like, "I'm just thinking about the movie."
Yeah. Well, because it's one of those things of everything was moving and blowing up and going and happening, and then it all stopped because the movie was over, and my brain goes, "Okay, we have time to catch up on all the deep stuff that we were just kind of storing."
Definitely. All right. Well, I don't know if we can say much more. It's just a good movie.
Yeah.
And
we've already spoiled the end.
We spoiled the end, but
we're sorry.
It really is a solid movie.
It is.
Again, theologically it doesn't line up with a lot of what we believe, but I can honestly say that it's a great conversation starter for some things.
Yeah. It does not theologically line up with what we believe, but you could very easily use it to start conversations about theology that we believe.
Yeah, exactly. But it leaves you feeling things. And I think that there's a conversation about superhero fatigue and some of these popcorn movie stuff. And the problem is you have so many films that they're trying to say something that it feels forced. And there's some stuff in here you can like, okay, they're trying to force some couple things here and there. But this was just, it felt like a natural way of doing storytelling.
Yeah.
It was really good to listen to, watch.
The music was beautiful.
Oh man, the orchestra was great. There were a couple scenes where I was like, okay, where they're including some pop music here and there that took me out a little bit. But other than that, it was really great across the board.
Well, I like Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
And that's who did the music.
I was down for the Hans Zimmer portions. Just some of the other portions where they include other stuff to it.
Gotcha.
So, but if you guys have seen Creator, we want to know what your thoughts are. Did you enjoy it?
The Creator.
The Creator, yes.
Because there is another movie called Creator.
Yes. There's actually another movie called The Creator also from like the 80s or something like that.
Nice.
But anyways, let us know your guys' thoughts. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment on the YouTube channel or, find us on social media. But I think that's all we got. Again, this is the first step in the Sci-Frights. And I will have a devotion based on this movie on Friday.
Yep.
And got a couple things coming down the pipeline for Sci-Frights.
Couple articles coming out.
Some really fascinating articles the team is putting together for us.
We got some ideas for podcasts.
I'm going to be doing a review on the Gargoyles remastered video game when it comes out later this month. But there's more information coming.
Yeah.
Celeste, you want to land the plane, babe?
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Con Talk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. So until next time, stay devoted.
Peace and love.